Hello and welcome to episode 8 of Sheepdog Says. I'm Sheepdog, and today I was at an event in London. My hair's a bit frazzled from it, I'm feeling a bit worn out. But while I was there, it was a bit of an odd event. Normally I go to these things with work and everyone gets pens, pencils, rubbers, food. I got a lot of shortbread. I thought I was getting one bit of shortbread. They handed me a bag. When I went through it, it had like 6 pieces in it, so it's been keeping me going all day. I'm more shortbread than man at the moment. But I've gone to a lot of these events over the years, and I've never received a tree. It's a wild cherry tree. I got it from a company who I can't even remember the name. I'll put it in the comments, but I'll put it in the description below. But they basically develop some sort of email thing where you send a document to them and they print it out and send it locally to save on postage, to save on envelopes and paper. I don't really get how it saves paper. I should have probably read. The guy was talking to me. I wasn't sure whether it'd be relevant, and then he just said to me, "Would you like a tree?" And I mean, you don't say no to that kind of question. It's a wild cherry tree, which I've looked up, and they're like normal cherry trees. They are edible. They're sweet. Apparently birds and bugs like them. I texted my wife saying, "I got you a tree." And she said, "Where the hell are we going to put that?" I don't know. She's the one who's got the next month off work on maternity, so she can dig a hole and bury it. I'll maybe put a picture up at some point on how that ends up. But it made me think about... So Kev likes to say that I have quite a cartoonish life, and I think receiving a tree on a day out where... that's just the kind of nonsense thing that I'm quite used to happening. And there's been a lot of that I thought recently, but yesterday I was reminded of a really weird one that happened with a fella called Tony Gallagher who works for The Sun. So in 2016, he basically, somebody started a joke. A fella called Rusty on Twitter did a joke where asked Tony Gallagher, and he basically said that the guy was doing a Q&A on Twitter. I kept asking questions basically around morality and, whether he felt it was okay for the Sun to cross the lines they cross and this sort of thing. And 2 weird things happened in this. First of all, I asked if he was still receiving questions. He replied, "I just can't keep up. I'm sorry. It's too overwhelming." And the person who started the prank has screen capped that tweet, that conversation, that exchange between me and him, just 2 tweets. It says, "RB6K Sheepdog, are you still fielding questions?" And then it has him responding, "I just can't keep up." He's printed that out and he's framed it, and it's now sat above his toilet. Now, I tweeted him last night and said, "Is that still there? Because I've been having a lot of weird stuff happen to me lately, and seeing that conversation made me realise that it's not just recently, it's been going on for years." And he sent me a picture back saying, "Yep, still above my toilet. I'm immortalised above this fella's toilet. I don't know him, never met him, never spoken to him before." What did happen that was weird as well with Tony Gallagher was we started a conversation in private, where at one point we were going to go into London and have a beer together, and I was going to chat with the chief editor of The Sun about morality in the media and this sort of thing. I must admit, I asked him about it a little while later, and I think he'd basically looked at my profile and seen how against The Sun I actually was. So he cancelled. I was asking for retweets on something, and he basically tweeted me going, "Don't ask us for any help." And I just thought, okay, well, balls to you. But I basically made an enemy out of the chief editor of The Sun now, so that worries me. If I was ever to get famous in any way, shape or form, I imagine the man would try and destroy me. It's probably a good job that I'm not that likely to do it, I suppose. So then I kind of placed that as one of the on the weirder end of the spectrum of most silly things that have happened to me. We all sort of had a laugh at the fact that I tried to buy sort of shrimp and worms for my axolotl the other week, and they kind of ended up becoming new pets, although they're down the toilet now. Well, the worms aren't, they're in a field. But they're quite normal. I feel like they're normal everyday weirdness. The stuff like this Tony Gallagher story and receiving the tree are just next level kind of oddness that seems to just happen to me and not anyone else. I kind of thought then, I mean, I wanted to do a whole top 5 weird things that have happened to me. The biggest kind of Sheepdog's cartoon life examples, and I'd put the toilet picture as kind of probably the number 5 on the list. I made a short list of just funny things that I thought of on my way home earlier today. One of the oddest, weirdest, I can't get my head around it, things that ever happened to me was when I was about, I don't know, 18, 19, and I was going to Reading Festival, and I'd bought my ticket off of eBay, and I'd been meticulously checking I had it and everything. And then as I went in on the first day, we got there, I think it was on the Friday morning, it must have been, and I'm wandering along and I've got stuff in my hands, and I basically dropped my ticket, and I was like, no, and I'm scrambling around picking up all my stuff. And then as I'm walking along, I'm again going through it all, and I've got my ticket in my hand, and I'm going through my other stuff, and then I had I'm looking at my hands, and I had 2 tickets. And I was just like, well, 1 ticket, 2, okay, this has got my name on it, this one hasn't. I can't even remember. Actually, I don't think either of them had my name on it. I think they both had different names because I bought them off eBay. So I'm looking at the 2 thinking, well, I don't remember which one was mine. So I'm ringing around all my friends, and I'm going like, is this your ticket? You know, why have you given me your ticket and I've not known? I could have lost it. I just dropped it. I didn't know. Everyone had their ticket. They were already inside. So the only thing I can guess is that I happened to drop mine next to another one that was on the floor. I picked them both up. It's a weird twist of fate on this one, where I rang my friend to see if she could come. She didn't answer. So another friend of mine just said, just take it outside to a tout and flog it. I looked around. I didn't make too much effort, but I looked around to see whether anyone was going, where's my ticket? And there was no one there. So I went outside and touted it. We bought so much alcohol and firewood and stuff like that with it. It was one of those moments where I just thought, yes, like cartoon life delivers with the goods. Now, for years, that had been my best random act of awesomeness that had ever happened. And then I was reading the paper one day when Love Film was closing down. And Mature Gamer podcast listeners will probably remember this era, but it was mad. And basically, I decided, because I'm mad, to email them and say, what are you going to do with all your games? Because you've got hundreds of thousands of games. You can't possibly be melting them all down and binning them off. So what are you doing? They replied, well, we were just going to give them away. Do you want some? And I replied, yes, please, and thought nothing of it. I kept thinking that at some point they were going to ask for my address and they were just going to send a little box out. Kev kept joking they were going to send a lorry round and I was going to end up with a garage full of games. It ended up somewhere in the middle because I got Kev to drive me into town because the Love Film distribution warehouse isn't that far out from here. And he took me there, and basically the guy gave us a box that was, I mean, I can't even fit my arms on the camera. It was a normal medium-sized box. And I thought, okay, that must be a couple of 100 games. I was quite excited, thinking, oh, we can have a bit of a giveaway on that. And when we got back to Kev's house, there was something like 3,500 games in there. It was ridiculous how many games were in that box. So I couldn't believe it. It was just one of those, what do we do with these? So we split them up. We spent hours splitting them up into different piles in Kev's kitchen and piling up, say, all, I don't know, I can't remember what the titles were now. It was sort of Xbox 360 and PS3 era. So let's say it was like 10 copies of Tomb Raider and a couple of copies of whatever else. And then we basically just put a spreadsheet up on our forum and said, everyone have at it, put your name next to a game, tell us your address, and we'll go through and we'll say, right, that's one for you, that's one for you, that's one for you. 10 people asked for this, we've got 8 copies, let's give the first 8 people a copy. It must have taken us about 6 hours, if not longer, to sort out. What we also did in a weird way at that point was Bouncy, who used to be on the show, he just started his own independent game shop. And so he, again, had some of them offers. And it was just a weird lineup of just, I need some stock. Well, here's loads of games. There you go. Just a really, really bizarre... It doesn't happen to me. No one believes me now. The fact that I have podcast evidence to back that up, I can show people it. But I was talking to... When I do my Pokemon Go event, raids and stuff, I mentioned it to one of them in passing. I think they were talking about Love Film, and I just told the story. And there was this silence afterwards of, didn't happen, did it? And I just sat there kind of thinking, none of these people believe me. They all think I'm mad now. I shouldn't have mentioned it. But it's just another weird thing. Taking it away from just weird feats of luck to more stupidity, I have kind of two times. I mean, two of the biggest moments in my life were just stupid cartoon life moments. I proposed to my wife without a ring because I went into town to try and find one, and I was just getting bombarded with nonsense. I walked into a place and somebody said, "Oh, I do hope you've saved 4 pay packets to buy this ring. This one starts at £8,000. And I'm like, no. So I just ran out of that shop. After doing that a few times and really getting stressed out, I basically said to myself, it'll be more fun for my wife if I propose and let her choose the ring. I'm really glad I did, because she spent nowhere near that. I don't remember how much she spent, but it was very little, very, very little. But anyway, on her birthday, I took her out for a meal. I took her to see a show. We went to a comedy event. We went back to this nice hotel we were staying in. I'd been wanting to do it all night, but thinking I won't do it in the restaurant. She won't like it. I won't do it in the clubs or whatever, like the comedy club, whatever, because it wouldn't work. And then she just randomly goes, "Oh, I'm really cold." And I just kind of went, "I'm really nervous." And she was like, "Why? What's up?" And I said, "Well," and I just went off on this tangent about how we'd been talking about it and I've been thinking about it for ages, and I, really wanted to know. And then I went to get down on one knee, but ended up on 2 knees and just kind of went, nonsense, absolute nonsense. I think I got the words out barely, but she was obviously delighted and thrilled. And I said, "I'm sorry I haven't got you a ring. We'll go out tomorrow and we'll do the whole ring thing." And we did have a fantastic day the next day. Like, she was really chuffed, obviously. She married me. But we went round London trying to find a ring. And then we got it, we bought it, we went back to my car, or to her car, because I didn't drive. And I said, "Right, you can't just put it on. I have to get it out and I have to propose again." So I said to her, like, all jokingly, "Will you marry me?" Opened the ring box, got the ring out. She held out her finger, and I just dropped it. And for the next half an hour, we were trying to get it out from under this piece of plastic in our car. I couldn't fit my hands under it, couldn't get it open. And after maybe about 25 minutes, she just hulked and just ripped this piece of plastic up, just stuck the ring on, and it just didn't leave her hand from that moment onwards. And yeah, that's kind of, it's meant to have been probably, asking her is probably one of the most stressful things I've had to do. I knew deep down she'd say yes. And I've completely ruined it with my idiocy. And then just to kind of finish it off with just bizarre, genuinely true, 100%, it won't seem it. But we started trying for kids soon after that. And like everybody, you do the pregnancy test, so it's negative, whatever. We'd got up early one day to do a pregnancy test because we thought, right, this is it, she's pregnant. And she did the dipping and everything, and it just came up negative. She goes off to work. I went off to do whatever I was doing that day, and I basically kept thinking about it. I was disappointed because, I really wanted it to be true. I wanted it to be positive, and I was remembering the episode of Friends where I think it's Rachel, spoiler, throws I think it's Phoebe or somebody finds a pregnancy test that's positive, and it turns out Rachel has binned it because she thought it was negative, and in the toilet or the bin or whatever it was found in, it's changed. And I thought, oh, I wonder if... And so I went rooting through our bin and got out this stick, and it said positive, or pregnant, I think it said on it. And I rang my fiance, then now wife, and said, "I think you're pregnant." And she was like, "What?" And I said, "I think you're pregnant. I've got the stick in my hand. I know what it said this morning, but it says pregnant." And she was like, "Well, it's probably just gone funny after a few hours, So I said, "No, let's buy another test." And she's like, "Well, those tests are not cheap. They're like 20 quid a pop." So I convinced her to stop on her way home and buy one. And sure enough, the next morning, we got up really early. We did it again. And I'll never forget I'm not going to swear on the podcast, but it was thinking, and then it just blinked up And I was just like, whoa, in my head. But my wife just dropped the S word. Like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And yeah, it was true. And we wouldn't have known for ages. We would have just not tested again for ages, probably. I mean, maybe a month, I don't know. But it was just surreal. We've now got a tradition where, I say tradition, it won't carry on after this third child we've just had. But the second time I was holding the test, so I knew before her and told her. The third time I said to her, oh, wait there, you know, I've done it twice, I'll tell you again. So I've got this weird, just this run where I'm the one who gets to tell her that she's pregnant, even though she kind of knows and feels it, and, you know, she instigates the test. I'm the one who gets to know first. And yeah, I think that's probably my favourite of all the weird Sheepdog's cartoon life kind of stuff that I do, because I don't know, it's just odd. It doesn't happen to most people. Most people don't get to tell the female first that they're pregnant. But yeah, I'm sure there's loads of others. I was going to ask Kev for a rundown beforehand of ideas. I've even got some that have happened this week that I'm saving for the podcast, because I like to start the show with just stupid things that have happened in the past week. The getting the tree just kind of threw me, because I mean, my dad said, have you got any nice swag? And I said, yeah, a cherry tree. And he couldn't get his head around it. But yeah. Those of you who've listened for years know all of our stuff, read our books. Let me know if you've got any memories that I might have forgotten about, or just things that you always think of that are funny about myself, which is a bit self-centered. Let me know about any of your silly stories, of course, in the comments. I'm always interested in reading them or hearing about them. And just as usual, leave me a subscribe, a like, a comment, whatever. As I said before, I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the 22nd of June. It works out as 10 subscribers a day for 100 days. I'm kind of, it's a bit slow going this past 24 hours, but I am on about 140-ish, so, you know, I'm getting a head start as it is anyway. But no, if you can hit subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. If you can share the videos around and let people know, yeah, I'd just like your help. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good